Amigos, muy buenos días. Gracias por estar con nosotros en su programa Café con Leche, la voz de los latinos en América. Estamos transmitiendo desde Hermosa 1470 AM, 96.9 FM y también en Facebook Live. Les habla Lilia Galindo, me acompaña en el teléfono Michael Dutton, que es mi co-host, y tenemos de Kaiser Permanente al Dr.Maziyar Amini. Él es el jefe del Departamento de Gastroenterología y Hepatología y nos está hablando acerca del tema de este mes de marzo, que tenemos que estar alertas hacia la posibilidad de un cáncer de colorectal. Y estamos hablando de personas de 45 para arriba. Doctor, for the people who doesn't have medical insurance, that in the Latino community there are many that they still don't have access to a medical insurance. Uh, what do you recommend them to do, or how can they proceed? Do you have an idea?
I think this always complicates things in our society, but I think with the programs that have been opened up throughout many states in the country after the Affordable Care Act was passed and some expansions in Medicare and Medicaid, there are very few people who would not be able to garner insurance. Even with financial hardship, much of the cost can be covered. And when a basic level of coverage is provided, all of the screening is provided free of charge. Usually co-payments are waived for screening interventions. That includes pap smears and mammograms, but also colon cancer screening. And so there are a few programs still out there. There is always so many details in insurance that even escape me, who works with it on a day-to-day basis. But most and nearly all insurance programs will now cover these screening modalities, whether it's colonoscopy or the occult blood. Obviously, between the two, the cost of the occult blood is much, much lower. There's no procedure. It's a very simple testing card. The costs are, for those providing, it's certainly less than $50. But to individual people, it's a matter of getting it processed, looked at, and then what to do if such a test comes back positive. That usually triggers a colonoscopy, and that would be very difficult to do without insurance coverage on someone who has financial hardship. So I would take the route of finding an insurance coverage, going through the exchanges. There are several outlets where people can see what their options are for their given circumstance.
Thank you. Le estaba yo preguntando, ¿qué hacemos en el caso de la comunidad hispana? Que muchos todavía no tienen la oportunidad de un seguro médico, no tienen acceso a servicios médicos. Dice, yo lo que les recomiendo es que chequen la posibilidad de obtener un seguro médico a través de Affordable Care Act, lo que es el Obamacare, porque ellos proveen programas para personas de muy bajo ingreso y les ayudan lo mejor posible. Dice, así es que les recuerda también que bajo el Obamacare todo lo que es medicina preventiva no tiene copayment, entonces les sale gratis. Dice, yo creo que la mejor manera es tratar de conseguir un seguro, porque aunque se puedan hacer todavía la muestra de la materia fecal para ver si tienen cáncer, si no tienen seguro, pues les va a costar como $50, pero una colonoscopia ya va a ser más costosa. Entonces hay que buscar la manera de encontrar un seguro médico que pueda cubrir las necesidades básicas. Doctor, for somebody who hasn't had any kind of this test, what would you say that is a sign of concern? Like I didn't make any of the preventive tests, but now I have some problems with my stomach, or why should I be worried if I present what symptom?
Yes, I mean, I think certainly we don't want to see people developing symptoms from this disease. We want to catch them at a time where they have really nothing going on, and that's the best time to prevent. But if one was to develop new bleeding or different bleeding, some of us have experienced small amounts of red blood that have occurred from what we believe are hemorrhoids or a rough bowel movement. But these occurring for the first time in someone who's never had that issue should be checked out. And if there is a different or darker colored blood in the stool, that should be looked at. If there is a sudden change in bowel habit, a new type of constipation that was never there before, should also be thought of as a reason to get checked out. Different or worsening abdominal pains, sudden weight loss that is unexplained, nausea, vomiting. Any of these worsening and alarming symptoms should immediately prompt you to get checked out, and colonoscopy is definitely considered in these types of symptoms.
Le estaba preguntando, bueno, para las gentes que nunca han tenido la oportunidad de tener un examen de nivel preventivo, como el que estábamos viendo de detección de sangre en las heces fecales o la colonoscopia, ¿cuáles son los síntomas que deben de preocupar? Me dice, bueno, nosotros quisiéramos que nadie llegara a este nivel, pero definitivamente si encuentra sangrado en las feces, o sea, en la popó, para que me entiendan, si encuentra sangrado, si principalmente dice, hay algún sangrado que se produce por el hemorroides, pero por ejemplo, si nunca ha tenido un sangrado y esta es sangre roja, entonces es causa de preocupación. También si ha cambiado sus hábitos intestinales, por ejemplo, de repente tiene un estreñimiento que no había presentado anteriormente, o tiene dolor abdominal, o tiene pérdida de peso, náusea, vómito, entonces tiene que checarse out. Digo, tiene que checarse out. Tiene que ir a realmente poner manos a la obra y ver de que se le atiendan de inmediato. Then what happened when that happened? Where do you go? They are going to make you confirmation of this, if it's cancer or not. And what could happen? I met somebody who part of her intestine was removed, and now she has to use a bag. Are still that in use, or is the old times procedure?
Well, yes, I think once a cancer has developed, the treatment really depends on what has already happened and how big the tumor is and where it has gone. If the tumor is entirely within the colon and nowhere else, then surgery can be done. And depending on where in the colon that happens, usually the intent is to reconnect the bowels and not leave a bag. But this often depends on the details. Sometimes there will need to be a temporary bag, and some people...
Doctor, the communication was... could you repeat that, the last thing that you say? They reconnect the intestines and then temporarily they collocate bags, and then what else? I lost that part.
And then the bag can be taken down and reconnected.
Okay. And
on where in the colon this was removed, and then the reconnection to the surgical side of it. When the disease has spread outside of the colon, usually surgery is not enough and needs chemotherapy and radiation. And these techniques have gotten much, much better over the years. And so even in the scenario where it's an advanced stage, then the treatments and cure rates have improved. But still, the best option for anybody within earshot is to prevent this disease, because its prevention is so much easier than dealing with the cancer when it has occurred.
Cuando el cáncer se presenta, dice, depende en el lugar del intestino que se presente. Dice, en algunos casos hay la posibilidad de cortar la parte cancerosa y luego reconectar los intestinos. A veces se tiene que poner una bolsa temporal para colectar las heces fecales. Pero la mayoría ha avanzado tanto la tecnología que se pueden reconectar nuevamente, pero depende de dónde pase. Dice, y si ya se desarrolló el cáncer, pues ha avanzado mucho la tecnología en lo que se refiere también a las radiaciones y a todos los procedimientos químicos que se le da a una persona con cáncer, pero definitivamente nos recomienda el ser preventivos. Michael, we have 1 minute. Tell me what you want to say. What do you want to ask?
Well, curious about this whole situation, and the doctor hit on something that I think is great advice, and that is the sooner you can take action, the better. Anything that involves cancer needs to be dealt with very, very quickly, very, very soon, because your survival and longevity, I think, depends upon that sense of urgency.
Sí, bueno, dice que el
Great
doctor
doctor.
nos está...
I agree that dealing with these situations at an earlier stage makes it much, much better. It makes it reduces people's suffering. It allows people to live longer and have less invasive testing. And really, this is a matter of habitual prevention that should be part of our day-to-day lives. It should be totally normal for us to recommend colonoscopies. Any sort you choose, starting at that age, at the age of 45 and above. And not that we want to induce fear, but the ounce of prevention certainly is much, much better than the pound of cure. And we've learned this over and over again, and dealing with it at an early stage, the numbers are just incredible. We have 97% cure rate, just incredible numbers. And even to the previous question about surgery is bad, sometimes people are so afraid of what they might find and what the outcome may be. And even the surgeries for early stage cancers oftentimes can be one-step surgeries where there's never a bag. The thing is removed and people are reconnected, and they do incredibly well as long as things are found early. So I agree completely.
Bueno, estamos hablando de la importancia de la prevención para evitar este tipo de casos de colon, y nos dice el doctor que es tan importante que estemos conscientes de que aún si llega el caso de una cirugía, ahora ha avanzado tanto la tecnología que la cirugía casi ya no tiene que usar bolsa para nada, se reconectan inmediatamente, se remueve el tramo canceroso y se reconectan las demás piezas. Doctor, well, the final recommendation would be for people who doesn't have insurance: lose weight, eat better, and then and exercise, no? And they are going to have less probability to develop cancer, no?
Certainly, I would do those on a general basis, but I think we are in a newer era where the financial hardship and even children, underage minors that have no access do find programs. So I would implore people who are not currently covered to reach out to the state-run insurance exchanges, reach out to different member services
Doctor,
of various
I'm so sorry.
companies.
I have to go. Thank you very much to both. It was a
You're
pleasure
very
to have you.
You're very
El
welcome.
doctor
Thank you for the time.
invita a todos a que encuentren un seguro médico, porque eso es lo que les va a salvar la vida. Michael, thank you very much, doctor. It was a pleasure to talk to you. You always give us such a good information. Hasta la vista,
My
baby.
pleasure.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Adiós, Michael.
Adios.